So for today's webinar, we will focus on Nintex technology, right? And how we can fully utilize Nintex. For the topic today is on the procurement side and operations. So let me have a few slides to introduce you guys. I'm sure most of us know what is Nintex, but just as a refresh, right? So Nintex is a global standard in process management and automations. And then you can see why people choose Nintex, right? One, it is low code, no code platforms. That means it can churn, it can build applications, it can build forms, it can build workflows very fast, right? Very fast means compared to the traditional way of creating a business workflow, it takes time, right? Traditional way requires multiple steps. Traditional way requires like coding, very extensive coding. Now, this one is different compared to Nintex, where you can start off with low code, no code, practically means like drag and drop, right? Nintex has a low total cost of ownership, meaning like, with the same set of licensing, it can be applied to the various features and functions, which later on slide I will elaborate more lah. And then you can see also it has the highest overall satisfactions, and it is recognized by a lot of the various industrial standards. In this particular slide, you can see from the Aragon workflow and content automations research company, you can see Nintex is the leader, right? And then it's a leader for 4 consecutive years, right? So you can see, being a Nintex, you can be sure that you receive the best possible features and functions in terms of workflow and content automations, because they do specialize on this area for so many years already. Okay. Now, the technology solutions for digital transformations. Right now, when we say digital, right, it means that we are working with so many different platforms, right? Digital means a document could be stored in a storage, whether it's a cloud storage like, Google Drive or Dropbox, right, or G Drive, or your document could be stored on-premise locally, or in your informations can be in legacy systems, right? Or in various other line of business applications, right? Or it can be a collaborations between different platforms like Slack, right? Different communication platforms like Teams. Now, what Nintex does is that it has the technology to connect all of those. It has the connectors, right? It allows you to have information being flow across any platforms that popular platform that's available lah. For example, like let's say I have a documents in Box, right? But for that documents, I need it to be automatically saved to another platform, say to a legacy systems. Yeah, so Nintex is able to push that particular documents to another platform, right? How does it do that? First, it can do it via forms and all the workflows automations. If you need digital signatures or e-signatures, Nintex has that solution for that. If you need to have documents automations generations, means like you have a set of informations that once it is being approved, you want that information to automatically populate into your documents, is your templates, right? You can do that, and that's via documents automations. And you can have robotic process automations, which is RPA, right? So RPA is part of the business whole digital transformations. And further from that, you can have process optimizing, you can have Nintex analytics and Nintex API and connectors, where you can see overall Nintex in terms of digital transformations, it covers everything, right? It enables you to connect all the data and informations in the various platforms through the various tools that they have: forms, workflows, documents automations, e-signatures, and robotic process automations. Now, the efforts of digital transformation business operations, as we know nowadays, 68% is still all very manual, right? Why it is still like that? Because one, there is a lack of visibility on your whole company operating process, right? That's why in order for you to digitally transform, these are some of the roadblocks. First, lack of visibility. Second, some of it might require very hard to implement, a lot of heavy coding required. Or third, you might not have manpowers to do that, right? So Nintex bring and fill in all of these gaps. You can start from low code, no code, where you can create simple processes right over there, or you can use templates. Nintex do has a lot of templates. Or you can do further complicated processes where you can add on a little bit of programming in there in order to have or to cater for more difficult case scenario. Okay, so just now is a little bit on the overall what Nintex can do, right? So for today, we will deep dive on the operations and procurement side and see how Nintex can, in the operation of procurement, can help you first to make your money go further, to save you a lot of expenses, right? It can automate your previous sales. It can do automation on purchasing to find a preferred vendors and to make a higher value of investments, right? It can automate your PO, your purchase order, right? So through the various fulfillment process, it can automate that particular sections all the way until it is being closed, right? And lastly, it can deliver customer satisfactions, making sure using the various tools within Nintex, it makes sure when a customer needs something, you can write down business processes to make the customer service journey a much more smoother process. Again, all using Nintex technology to move any particular information that customer has and then pass it to the required persons at the back end side for them to take further actions. So another things, key points of Nintex, one is approval for their workflows, right? Nintex can have a very simple workflows, either document workflows or information workflows, or you can create very sophisticated workflows where you can have multiple different approval, multiple layer. So in the logic parts, you can dictate why and when it requires to go to one particular workflow. For example, right, certain amount. After certain amount for the procurement side, it will go to a different approval. Amounts that is higher than this, it will go to another sections of approval. For the procurement processes, you can have simplify the whole purchasing automations approval process. It can generate accurate reports, and it can also decrease the response times by automating at the back-end side rather than traditionally is a very manual processes. Especially nowadays where we work from home, things that we can automate, right? Rather than having people to keep track of things, we let the technology do it for you, right? At the end of the day, we just look at the technology and see at the dashboards to take a look, whether all the tasks has been done or not, right? Standard operating procedure. So Nintex can standardize all the processes, create up-to-date and simple workflows that reduce time for approval, right? So this is my last slide before we move on to the demo side. So what I want to highlight here is that first, Nintex specialize on the process management and automations expertise. right? It is the most complete and powerful, easy to use platform. So most complete means like you don't need to subscribe to multiple different platform to do the same thing. Say for example, right, I need an RPA. So I don't need to subscribe to another third-party tools, particularly just for RPA. I need workflows, right? I don't need to get another workflows module in there. I need document generations. I need e-signatures. Everything can be done comprehensively within Nintex. And lastly, customer success deployment process improvements. So the end goal of Nintex, one is to make sure your backend processes running smoothly. And at the same time, also it makes sure your customer is happy as well, right? By setting up various processes at the back end to make sure it fulfill the requirements that depends on your business case scenario. And you can see on for Nintex, it is being used across the board by major customer like Microsoft, right? By Amazon, like Coca-Cola, AstraZeneca, Salesforce, and so forth. Okay, so with this, hopefully you have an idea what Nintex is, right? And for today, particularly in operations and procurement. And now let's move on to the demo side. And let me pass to Milad, our consultant. Milad?
Okay, thank you, Robin, and good morning, everyone. So let me share my screen. Okay, actually today, okay, we want to discuss about the demo Nintex for operation and procurement. So the demo that I provided today, okay, to go through it and uh, showcase the process and how it works, it's related to the vendor onboarding. So, as Robin, my colleague, is already mentioned. Okay, with the Nintex, you can create many different processes. You can digitalize all the processes that you already have in your company. So with the help of Nintex, because it's we call the Nintex product as the end-to-end product, and as Robin mentioned, with one license, okay, with I mean one package, okay, you can access to the different services as a workflow, as an Nintex sign, as for example the RPA and the forms creation as well. So our today actually demo session is mainly focused on the Nintex connector, Nintex Workflow Cloud, and also Nintex Sign that is powered by Adobe Sign. So how's the process today? Actually, how's the process of the vendor onboarding? So in your company, it can be a different way for the vendor onboarding. But this one is one of the example that only I want to showcase to you the ability of the Nintex, capability of the Nintex as well. So, okay, for the vendor onboarding, so first you create, for example, one shared repository for your vendors. Then the vendors, they can upload their contract, okay, inside that repository. Once they upload it, the first step. The second step, okay, if you have the any CRM system, something like a Dynamic 365, SAP, or other CRM, or any, for example, information from the current vendor that you already have. Okay, once the vendor is upload the document, based on the document and the person in charge that is upload the document from the vendor, so the workflow will be run and goes to the CRM system and grab all of the information related to that vendor. That it means the account and also the contact number and the owner of that account. And we call it the vendor account owner. Once we have all of this, okay, we will assign the contract review to the vendor account owner. So the vendor account owner, we can grab it from the CRM. After that, we will assign the contract that is uploaded by vendor for the review purpose to the related owners. Once the owners have the two choice whether they can request it for the update again from the vendor or whether they can approve it if everything is correct. So if they approve it, it will be goes to the second level. So is assign the contract review to the legal team. Again, legal team, they can review or they can refer it back to the vendor owners. And the vendor owners also, they can refer it back to the uh, vendor for the review again. So this process can be goes through the many, it can goes many times. So it's a rotatable process until all the parties is agree on the contract. Once the legal team also is agree on the contract, the final one, then we will send the contract to the vendor for signing. That we will use the technology of the Nintex sign and Adobe sign. Once they sign it, then we grab that one and we will share the signed contract with the vendor and the account owner, so both they will receive the email notification with the related document in the attachment. And then we will save the contract, the signed contract to our repository. This repository also, it can be a SharePoint, it can be a Box, OneDrive. It depends on where we want to put it, those all of contracts. Okay, so let me go through the demo. So okay, Nintex actually it comes with three different products. So we will call it the Nintex Online. Okay, that it's used for the Office 365 or M365. Another one is for the Nintex for on-premise, and the main one that Nintex tried to actually bring the product to the standalone product, and it's not dependent to other products that have the Nintex Workflow Cloud solution. So today our demo session today is on the Nintex Workflow Cloud solution. Okay, let me go through the workflow. I already created a vendor onboarding. So before I will run it or the testing, okay, so I will showcase how it looks like and what processes will involve. So as you can see here, okay, once we start the start event so far is connected to the SharePoint repository. I have one SharePoint repository as an example is Contessa Company. Then I share these folders, this Contessa Company with my related vendor that is Contessa Company. Then the person in charge from the Contessa Company, they can upload the related contract here. Once they upload it, the Nintex workflow, it will be run. The workflow will be run and grab the file that is already uploaded in that folders. Then once we have the file, again, we will go to retrieve the contact information. The contact information, it depends on the person in charge that is uploaded. Is grab the account ID, okay, the email address from the SharePoint repository, or it can be a box, Dropbox, or OneDrive as well. And after that, because we are using in this scenario, we are using Dynamic 365 as a CRM system. So as you can see, I already create one company, contest a company test, and I put it the my email address as a person in charge that I want to upload the document. And also, if I click on one of the account number that I already have, so in this account number, all of the detail related to the vendor is already there. And also we have one owner from our company, okay, that is the first step to review the contract that the vendor is already uploaded. So all this information, grab it from Nintex, okay, that we can use a different connector. As you can see, this connector, if I search it, all of the action is a dynamic 365. You can see we have the lots of action here as a that it can be connected to the dynamic 365 and grab all of the information from for your vendors or the customers. And also you can connect it to a SAP if you have the SAP system. Also, it's possible to connect it to SAP as well. Salesforce as well. All the information, it depends on where your customer information is already stored. Then you can work with all of the connectors that the Nintex is provided for you and grab the information for that customer or the vendor. Once you grab all of the information, okay, for example, the account owner info, the account info that you already have or contact info, all it will be saved inside the workflow. And after that, we will go to decision making. So the first branch that it will be started, the first step is the internal review. So this one, it will be submit the contract. Once they submit the contract, okay, this one is assigning task. So we assign one task, okay, to our internal company, for the internal review, that in this case is my account as well. So we call it account owner email, that it will be grabbed from the Dynamic 365. In this case also I put it my names as well. So once it's grabbed, it will be assigned a task to that user, okay, to do the review on the contract that is uploaded by the vendor. So there is two choice for this user, whether they can mention as updated, whether they can mention as approved. Is if it's approved, as you can see here, okay, it's sent to legal for the review. If it's approved by account owner, it will be sent it to the legal for the review. If it's not, it will be sent back to the customer again for the review, and repeat those session as well, all of the previous process as well. Okay, so let's imagine, okay, the account owner, okay, is already approved it, and it will be sent it to legal review. Again, it will be assigned a task to the legal person in charge, okay, so the legal department. And after that legal department also, they have two choice: they can update, they can approve it. If it's approved it, it will be finalized, and it will be sent through the process to get the signature from the customer for the final document as well. If it's not, okay, they will come back from here. So if it's approved, send to sign and store the final document, signed document. If it's not there, return to the internal team for the review again. So all this process, it will be repeated until it will be goes here to the signed document, get a signature, and after that, the get signature, it can be expired once you send, or completed or aborted. If it's aborted, it will be exit from the process. If it's expired, you will send the email notification to the related person in charge, and again, it will be sent back to the legal department to proceed further. And if it's completed, it will be sent to the submitter, that in this case is a vendor. And after that, it will be sent the signed document to our internal team, that is the owner, account owner, and store the document. In this case, we store it in on OneDrive, and after that, exit from the process. So these are is a whole scenario, is one of the scenario actually that we created for the vendor onboarding. So let's try it together. So this one, imagine, okay, I as a vendor, person in charge for the contest company, I access to the SharePoint that the company is already shared with me. So I will try to upload one document first. Let me go and find one of the contract that I already provided. So the contract document. So I will upload it. So once I upload this one, then it will be trigger the workflow and all of those information. Actually, it might be take a bit time, but we can track all of the process that we already have. So the step by step. Let me go back to the instances. Once one of the workflow, it will be run, okay, so you can keep track all of the action inside the instances. So these are his previous workflow that I already tested. Okay, some of them is failed due to, for example, the information is not exist. Some of them is already completed. So the new one that I already put it, it hasn't started yet. I need to wait and I refresh it. Not yet. Okay, waiting to update this part. Before that also, we will go to the previous one that I already tested. So this one actually I already tested yesterday, okay? And you can see all of the action that you've done it in the workflow, and you can see the status. So for the first step, I get the file, okay? Once I getting the file, I retrieve the contact information. Its action is completed. Then for retrieving the contact information, I have a lots of things, okay? Retrieve contact info, retrieve the owner, and then I can log some of the log. For example, what is the contact info, the all of the company name, to showcase whether I'm working in a right place or not, everything is goes well. Then it will goes to the branches. The internal review is the first step. It will be assigned a task to the person in charge, is account owner and is assigned a task. If it's approved, it will be mentioned is approved the status. If it's rejected or, for example, updated, it will be send it back to the customer again. In this case, I already approve it. I send it to the legal for the review again after approval. Once I approve it, it will be sent to the legal again. Legal will be approved or assign a task to another person. So I already here as approve it, the review for the approved contract, approve it. Then if the legal department is approved as well, it will be send the document to sign and store the document. Then it will be send it for the review to the customer, the vendor, waiting for the signature. So waiting until the customer or the vendor is already signed that document. And once they sign, it's gonna be completed. It will be send a welcome email to the submitter, is our vendor, and send a signed email to the internal team as well, store the document and exit the process. So you can see easily, you can keep track all of the steps that you already defined it inside the workflow. So let me go back to the instances. Okay. As you can see, this one is the current one that I already run it. The date and the time is already there. You can see this running. So if I click on that one, you can see in each step we are already in. So you can see all of the information is already gathered. The file is gathered. The account info is already gathered. So we are in the internal review and in the first step. So I should waiting for one email that it will be sent me. Okay. Okay, just we are waiting for that email. Okay, once we are waiting on that email, I will show you some of the sample, okay, for that I've done it the previously. So this one is the previous one that I already sent it for the test. So as you can see, it will be mentioned, for example, hi, this one is related to the first step for the internal review, that it will be sent to the account owner for that vendor. So for example, it mentioned, hi Milad Asfa, a new contract has been submitted by who? For example, in this case also is me, is a vendor. Please review the document from here. If you click on that one, it will be open the document and you can review and you can edit it. So there is two choice for you, whether it's updated, whether it's approved. So in this scenario, we implement the workflow, we call it as a lazy approval. So you do not need to go to the system, approve it or update it. Only things you need to reply to this email with the updated word or approved word. If you mention as an updated word, it will be send the document to the vendor for the review again. And the vendor, they have to update it or approve it again. And if it's approved it will be come back again to the internal review. So it's a process that it will be done. So if the internal review, the account owner is already approved it, then it will be sent, we already mentioned it will be sent to the legal team. So once it's approved and sent to the legal team, the second step, because to showcase to you all the account, for example, the account owner, the vendor, account owner, and also the legal team is me. I already put myself to showcase to you. So this one is the second email after approval, internal approval from the account owner and receive it by the legal team. The legal team also it mentioned this, for example, contract is reviewed by who has been approved by who. Then the legal team also they can review if they click on the document will be open. They have two choice whether update the document or approve. Is update is again back to the internal review and also it will be shared to the customer or the vendor again. If it's approved, it will be sent for the the Nintex sign that is powered by the Adobe. So this one is another step that it will be sent the document, okay, from the Adobe sign, or we call it Nintex sign, to the vendor to review and sign. Once they click on that one, the document will be open and the user they can sign the document and they can abort it. If it's appropriate, the process will be finished. If they sign it, then it will be goes through the process and the vendor and the user itself, the vendor and also the account owner will receive email notification and that document, the signed document will be stored in OneDrive for our demo purpose. So this one is the email that you can see. Okay, for example, welcome to as a vendor. Thank you to and welcome. It will be received by the vendor, and you can access to the signed contract here. And another one is for the owners. Then it will be done, and after that you can receive the again by Adobe Sign. Okay, so you can receive the agreement that you already signed, and there's a step also, and we call it the signature inside the document as well. So let me see whether I receive it. Yeah, I already received the document. So this one is the first step for the contract review for the internal. For example, as a owner, hi Milad, Asfa. Okay, for example, a new contract has been submitted by Milad. Again, the document is there. You can review or approve it. So the only things that I should do as an internal review, once I review the document, I have to reply to this email and put it approved. Okay, I will send it. So then this one is considered as an approved process. So let me see. This one is already, we are here. So again, it takes a bit time, okay, to update the process. So I have to receive another email, okay, after approval that is considered as sending the email to the legal team. That is something like this email. I will receive it. After that, I will do all of things. Again, I will approve it, and the final approval, final things that I will receive it is from the Adobe Sign or Nintex Sign, that the vendor, they have to sign it. Okay, just we are waiting for the next email and see the process is running. So I will refresh it. Okay, as you can see, the review is already submitted, contract is completed. Okay, you can see the next level is already started. The legal review is started, and you can keep track all of the process. How long does it take? A start time, the status, the end time. You can keep track it for audit purpose as well. So then I'm waiting for another email to receive it. So once I am waiting for the email, let me go through the workflow and showcase from here as well too. So this step is already done, okay? Then it will be sent it to this step, okay, for the internal review. Internal review is already approved, okay? It's already approved. If it's approved, it will be sent to the legal review. The legal review, it assigned a task to the legal review, to the legal department for the review. And the legal department have two options, okay, whether it's update again or approve it. If it's approve it, it goes to the sign and store. So as you can see, the look and feel and the UI for the Nintex also is very user friendly and easily. For example, if I want to add another things, okay, for example, another action here, after imagine I approve in the internal, okay, I already directly sent to the legal department for the approval. So before I send to the legal department, I want to send one, for example, email notification to the vendor, and I want to mention, for example, this first step internal review is already approved. So I will looking for example, send email action here. Easily I will drag and drop, mark it here. So then from here, if I click on that one, I can mention, okay, who should be a recipient? In this case is the submitter. So because I already grab all of this information from the CRM, okay, in this case, dynamic CRM. So the submitter, I already have here the submitter email. So I will send it the submitter email, then I can put it the subject. Okay, for example, your contract is already approved by the first level and the related message as well. And then we will send it to the legal department for the approval. Okay, let me go back to the email. So as you can see, the legal department has already received the document for the review. They can approve it. I will again reply to this email. So approved. So if I go back to, let me close this one, go back to the instances to keep track all of the action that we've done it. So as you can see, is already mentioned, is already approved by the legal review as well. Then the document will be sent to the vendor, okay, for the sign and stored to the repository that we already defined it. So let me see, we are waiting also for Adobe Sign, okay, that send the document, create the document, convert the document to the PDF and send it for the review. Okay, while we are waiting, so let me show some of other things. Okay, so as you can see here, we have one tab that we call it the task. So this one, it will be mentioned all of the completed tasks that it will be assigned to the related person in charge inside your company. For example, legal contract review is assigned to who and is completed by who and is whether is approved or reject. You can keep track all of this record as well. So let me see whether we already received it. Okay, so here we already received it. For example, hi Milad, include here the final version of the contract for the review. This email will receive it by the vendor. And it will mention, for example, after 30 days, if you haven't completed the signature, okay, it will be returned to the legal for the process and may be voided again. Okay, the customer or the vendor, the only things that he need to do or she need to do, review and sign the contract. We will click on that one. While the contract is opening, okay, this one is a contract that it first is uploaded by uh, vendor. And after that, it will be reviewed by the internal department, internal review, that is a vendor, account vendor, then the legal team. In these three steps, each of them, they can send it back for the review. Once all of this is finalized and review and is agree, all is agreed together, it will be converted to the PDF and it will be sent it to the vendor for the final approval and get the signature. So if I click start here, I can click here and write my signature name, or I can draw the signature. I can apply it. Once I apply it, I will click to sign. So before I click to sign, this one is a repository for the contract that I define it. After signing, it will be saved there. So let me send, okay, click sign. So this document is already signed. Let me go back to instances that we already have and see the other action and the process that we have it. So as you can see is we already get signature, okay, waiting for the signature. The signature is approved. It takes a bit time to update this process. So while we are waiting, I will go to the email and showcase something to you. So all of this that you can see, this what we call it, the details, the subject, everything can be customized. So let me, before I will start it here, I will open the workflow here to showcase how it looks like for the Nintex sign. If I open the workflow, scroll down. Now we are in this step, the get signature is done. Then I have to receive it, the email, one email for the submitter as a vendor, and another one for the internal team account owner, and then store it to the repository that I have. So this one is get signature. So it will be mentioned, okay, whether you want to send for this, who is the recipient, what is the recipient email, the name, the recipient role, the signer, or other things that you can put it. We have a lots of choice here: approver, accepted, certified, form filler, delegator. Then these are the agreement name, all of the messages that you need to send it through the document for the signing, that it will be considered this part. Okay. And after that, you can put it the expiry date. So the maximum is 180, and you can put it, for example, after 30 days. And if it's expire from here, what will be happen? Send email to the legal team for the what we call it to the vendor. Okay, sorry, send the email to the vendor that this contract is already expired, and after that, assign the task to the legal team for uh, the rest of the process. So let me go back to the instances. I will refresh it, this page again. Okay, good, very good. The process is already completed. The get signature is completed. The send welcome email to the submitter or the vendor is completed. The send sign email to the internal team completed. A stored signed document is completed and the process is already done. So if I go back to the instances, you can see this one, the status is fully completed without any error. If I go back to the repository that I defined it, the contract one, you can see the the agreement is already there with the signed document, the signature. So, okay, another step, as you can see, I already received a different email, one email as a agreement related to the sign. Okay, another email for the vendor. Okay, sorry, this email is related to the owner. Okay, and this one is the welcome email to the vendors. So all the things that you can see here, it already happened, and you can keep track all of the step by step related to the start time and the end time uh, by following all of this for your internal review or internal audit. Okay, so I think that's all for this part. Okay, another things before I end my session. Okay, the Nintex, okay, is the end-to-end product, and so far is previously once the Nintex is comes for the Nintex SharePoint on-prem, after that it will be goes to the SharePoint online, okay, or Nintex for the Office 365 or M365. Now Nintex try to come with the completed package and it become independent. That there's a lots of connector that you can connect it. It can be a SharePoint, it can be a SQL server, it can be a MySQL, or other kind of repository or server that you already have or other system. So we consider it as the Nintex as an independent solution or independent services. Okay, that's all for my side.
Thank you everyone again for the joining this webinar. Thank you for spending time with us. Stay safe, everyone. If have no questions, so we end our webinar now. Thank you, everyone. Bye.